Bienvenido a mi canal de nuevo. Antes de empezar, si usted quiere ver este video en español, hágale clic en la descripción y lo llevará a la segunda parte. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna make this video in two different parts because there was a request for that, right? Normally I do these videos in all Spanish, but I figured I would listen to the people. Someone commented and said do it in both languages. So I'm gonna start in English and the second part will be in Spanish. In English, I'm just gonna kind of review what the process has been like, things that I might do differently, things that might help you, right? I made a video before and I'll try to put a link or something about the 1 year mark. It's been 8 months since then. My views are a little bit different now, but mainly the same. So, when you first start, obviously, you don't know anything, or you might have a slight background, but that's basically next to nothing. And that's where I want to start at. A lot of people overestimate their level of speaking and level of just knowledge in a second language, especially Spanish. That's what I'm speaking about. But I'm going to just say second language because it probably applies to everything. Lots of people tell me, yeah, I know a lot of Spanish. And then if you try to talk to them, they don't know anything. Or you tell them something and they're like, they don't really know. And that's the thing. We have a lot of, what are they called? Cognates? I think they're called cognates. I'm not sure. I think they're called cognates. Words that look exactly the same as English and have similar meanings, right? Or they look similar and have similar meanings. So, for instance, like president and presidente, right? Of course, it's really easy to read that. So people can read a paragraph in Spanish or they can read a sign or something and like they see like agua and something else and they're like, oh yeah, that means water. Yeah, I took 2 years of Spanish. I'm pretty good at this stuff actually. When the fact is that if a native speaker was talking to another native speaker, they wouldn't understand anything. In fact, if a native speaker was talking to them, they wouldn't understand much. And that's another thing. Native speakers tend to slow stuff down a lot if they realize that your level is not that high. It's the same thing in English. If you're talking to someone with a super strong accent that looks like they're confused, you slow down a lot and you don't use any slang. You're like, yes, if you go in this direction for 5 miles and then turn right, you'll be there. But if I'm talking to someone I know, I'm like, yeah, bro, just head that way, make a right, and you're there. Bam, it's too easy. You talk differently to try to make someone understand what you're saying. And that can give people a false sense of confidence, right? So don't beat yourself up about it. But if you're basing your level of speaking on not speaking, it's probably wrong, okay? Get somebody else that's a native speaker or close to native level speaking to test you out. Have a conversation with you, and they can tell you a lot of stuff that you're doing wrong. Pronunciation, conjugation, all of that stuff. You think you're doing it well because you're judging yourself. You know what I mean? It's like SoundCloud rappers, bro. They think they're really good, and we listen to their music, and we're like, bro, this sucks. Like, this is horrible. You need people to give you feedback when you're trying to improve, and I think your goal is to improve. If it's not, then I guess it doesn't matter. But I think we learn another language to communicate, and so if you have a chance to improve your communication, I don't see why you wouldn't take that chance. Now, I do understand that everyone has different goals. I want to be at a high level. Everyone doesn't want to be at a high level. I was talking to someone on Twitter today, and they told me their goal was to be able to listen to music and communicate with native speakers. They didn't care at what level. They literally told me that they had no intention of improving their grammar at all. And I'm like, if that's your goal, then that's your goal. They have 4 or 5 other languages that they said they speak, so their language is not their goal is not for Spanish to be high level. It's just to be able to communicate when they want to. So I totally get that. But a lot of you watching this probably, you want to be able to speak at a high level. You're only learning a second language. You're not learning a fourth and fifth language. And the more you can express yourself, the better your grammar is, the more confident you're going to feel, and the better you're going to feel because you're going to really get to express some things that you really want to say. It really sucks when you're thinking something in English and it's a deep feeling and you're trying to express it in a second language and you can't get it out. And there's just only a certain amount that even a native speaker can help you because they don't know what you're thinking. You know, if you're trying to tell someone that you felt this deep love for someone and it was broken, and like you're telling them like, oh yeah, like I had an ex-girlfriend, and they're like, oh yeah, you had an ex-girlfriend, and you're like, dang, how do I say this, that, and the other? It's two totally different feelings. You know what I mean? To say that you lost the love of your life versus saying like, I used to have a girlfriend. And maybe you can only say I used to have a girlfriend now. Like I said, the goal would be able to be express deeply what you feel about that ex-girlfriend and the situation right now, right? But anyways, I digress. Besides overestimating, I think I'm going to talk about a couple things that I think people do wrongly or that they could do better. Language learning apps, they're cool. I don't want to trash Duolingo. I don't want to trash any of these apps because they're cool. They're something to start. But there's nothing like talking. There's literally nothing like talking. Talking itself is a skill, which is why you can be uneducated and you can speak. Like, if you on a farm or something and they've done no formal education, they might not know. They might not be able to tell you a single thing about grammar. They will be able to hold a conversation with you. Is it an educated conversation? That doesn't matter. Anything that they feel, anything that they want to tell you, they can. They might not even be able to read or write. There's a lot of illiterate people in the United States that can have a full conversation. A certain singer that I'm not going to name was an amazing, amazing artist, and he could not read or write. Fantasia, the singer, is illiterate, or was illiterate. I don't know if she's changed that. I'm guessing she hasn't, though. Literacy, reading and writing, is not the same thing as speaking. So you can be really, really good at reading, really, really good at typing messages. So you're typing messages, you're participating in forums and whatever, and you're like, oh wow, I'm really good at this. I should have no trouble if I had to tell someone blah blah blah. It doesn't work like that, bro. Your tongue, your brain, that connection, that's a skill. There's been times like I've thought something 100 times in my head and I've never said it out loud, and I just thought whenever it was time to say it out loud, I would be able to just boom, just flow it easy, and I say it and I'm like, what? Like, how did I mess that up 3 times in a row, bro? I've thought this so many times. Or I might know the lyrics to a song, and then when I finally try to spit the whole spit, that's slang. And when I finally try to rap or sing the whole verse, it's like my tongue, it just can't keep up, and I'm like, oh man, like, and you literally have to practice singing it or rapping it to get all of it, right? So it's the same thing. So everyone says this, but the comprehensible input is true. It's just like a child. A child listens to adults talk for so many years, and then the child starts to speak words, sentences little by little, and get corrections. You know, like most kids, you hear them say like, "Oh, I'm 3 years old." If you're British, maybe that's normal, but regular Americans, that's wrong. It's just wrong. And you're like, "You're 3 years old." Yeah, I'm free. Okay, that happens for a while. Eventually, they stop doing that. It's the same with a couple of other sounds. Conjugations. Kids say, I run real fast. Like, yeah, you ran fast. Good job. Over time, they're 8 years old, they're 10 years old. All of that stuff gets cleaned up slowly over time. And then they mainly speak with good grammar. But you're looking at 10 years right there. It's the same for you. You're an adult and you already have a base in another language, but you don't have that experience. You don't have the grammar in the other language. It's going to take years. I don't care what anyone on here says. I don't care what kind of write-ups people do on Reddit. I don't care what anyone's saying about getting stuff done in 6 months. Casual, like, fluency and high-level fluency are not the same thing. You can make a lot of progress in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. At 3 years still, which I'm not even at, but I follow some people that are there, you're still going to make mistakes. We make mistakes in our native language, but you're it just takes a long time. Language takes a long time, but the ultimate goal is to be able to communicate freely and express yourself. So the time doesn't matter. But all I'm saying is get lots of input, speak when you can. The only way you're going to get better at speaking is speaking. Unless you're like writing research papers, I'm guessing your main goal is speaking. So if you're spending all of your time reading books and never talking to anybody, bro, like to me, you're doing it wrong. You need to talk. The only thing I want to backtrack on that I've said before is like speaking on like day one or something. I don't agree with that now. I changed my mind. I was wrong. If you try to speak way before you have any, like, before you have a big base, you're just going to be so uncomfortable and so wrong that you're going to be asking what the other person's saying every other word, and you won't be able to have a conversation, and that might mess with your confidence. So I do take that back. I do think that you should wait until you can at least string some sentences together, even the most basic sentences. But I used to say, like, you need to talk on day one. If you know hola, if you know como estás, you need to start just saying that. But really, like, if you only know como estás and somebody starts speaking back to you, like, you're just going to be sitting there looking stupid. So I take it back. Okay. And, yeah, I really don't know, man. I really don't know. I think that's all I have to say in English. So if you don't speak Spanish, you probably can just turn it off right now because I'm about to go into Spanish. Also, before you cut it off, leave me a comment. If you're only watching the English part, leave me a comment and tell me how long you've been learning Spanish, what's your goal, and how long you've been learning, what's your goal, and what's the hardest part for you so far. I want to know those three things. If you don't leave those three things, basically you didn't watch this, you hate me, you hate my family, you hate my entire bloodline, all of my ancestors. You're just disrespecting them and spitting on their graves if you don't leave a comment with those three things. I'm just telling you what you're doing. Thanks for watching. This is about to turn into all Spanish. Diablo. Diablo, brother. Cuando subo este tipo de videos, siempre me dice la gente siempre me dice, no he logrado ese nivel de español y llevo 3, 4, 5, 6 años en español y quiero hablar como tú en español. Y tengo dos preguntas. La primera pregunta es, ¿cuánto trabajo estás haciendo cada día? ¿Cuánto trabajo? ¿Estás practicando 15 minutos por día? Porque no es suficiente. En verdad, no puedes lograr nada, casi nada en esta vida con 15 minutos. Cuando no te estás enfocado, 15 minutos en el día no es suficiente. No es suficiente. Tienes que subir el nivel. Tienes que trabajar más. Y la segunda pregunta es, ¿estás hablando con la gente en la calle? ¿Estás hablando con la gente que habla español en tu trabajo, en tu ciudad, donde sea? Mierda. Donde sea. ¿Estás hablando con la gente? Si no, tienes que preguntarte a ti mismo, ¿por qué no? Porque estoy seguro. Creo que tu meta es comunicarte, ¿no? Y si tu meta es comunicarte con la gente, ¿por qué no estás hablando con la gente? No tiene sentido. No tiene sentido. Y no creo que no creo que tú vayas a lograr tu meta si no habla con la gente. No tiene sentido. Ok, otra cosa. Quiero que tengas paciencia contigo mismo, ¿ok? Hubo un día en el pasado cuando tú no podías hablar en español, no inglés, en español, ni una palabra. Y ahora, ok, se me fue la luz, obviamente. Ok, como te decía, hubo un día en el pasado cuando tú no podías hablar, tú no podías entender nada, ni una palabra en español. Y ahora tú puedes entenderme, tú puedes entender a la gente en YouTube o donde sea. Tú puedes hablar con la gente en la calle o donde sea. Y has hecho mucho progreso. Clap for yourself, ¿ok? Es difícil, es difícil, ¿ok? Si tú fueras un niño que tuviera 2 años, y lo digo eso porque llevas probablemente 2 años, 3 años, 4 años, 5 años en español. Y si tuvieras 2 años, 3 años, 4 años, no espero mucho, no esperaría mucho de ti, ¿ok? No espero mucho de un niño, porque ese niño lleva 3 años. No, los niños no pueden decir nada, nada bien, nada bueno. Los niños hablan mucha mierda. Los niños hablan muchas cosas que no entiendo, en verdad. Entonces, es normal. El proceso, ugh, no puedo hablar. No sé, no sé qué está pasando ahora, pero no puedo hablar. No puedo hablar. Pero el proceso toma tiempo, mucho tiempo. Y no creo que vayas a lograr un súper alto nivel en un año, en 2 años, 3, 4, 5 años. Toma tiempo, mucho tiempo. Yo tengo 30 años en... ¿30 años? ¿O tengo 31? No, tengo 30 años. Soy muy viejo. Tengo 30 años, 30 años y todavía cometo errores en inglés. Claro que sí, voy a cometer errores en español. Claro que sí, llevo casi 2 años en español y llevo casi 30 años en inglés. Y cometo muchos errores hasta en inglés. Claro que sí, vamos a cometer errores en un idioma extranjero. Claro que sí, es normal. Ten paciencia contigo mismo, por favor. Por favor. Pues más nada. La verdad es que cuando hago ese videos, daré clic en mi teléfono y empiezo a hablar y no tengo una guía, no tengo nada. Entonces, no sé. Ok, quiero que me dejes un comentario y dime cuáles son las cosas más difíciles en español para ti. Dime 3 cosas, por favor, si me quieres. Ok, chao, gracias por verme. Nos vemos. Hasta la próxima.